Hey, everybody. Welcome to the I Got a Girl podcast with Coach Jackie. And I am just so excited to kick this off. It's been a thought in my head for years, and I kept telling people who wanted me to do one. They're like, "You've got to do one," because I've been a perpetual guest for the last 3 to 4 years on other people's podcasts. And I really resisted it. I was like, no, I'll just be a great guest, right? And then one day it hit me that my message and my mission needs to be heard so that other women and people who can relate, men who can relate to what it is that I'm talking about, the stories that I'll be sharing with other women will help you see that you're just not alone and you're not going crazy with what you're feeling, right? So, how did this all start? How did the I Got a Girl podcast, how did the I Got a Girl theme start? Um, I'm currently, as you're hearing this, I'm 53 years old. I'll be 54 this year. And I lived a really good life under what I didn't understand was a place of survival, control, and fear. And what that means is that ever since I was 7, and a lot of you might relate to this, but ever since I was 7, I had to figure it out, right? I had to figure out what if I wanted to eat, I'd have to figure out how to cook. If I wanted to get clean laundry, I had to figure out how to get the laundry done. If I wanted to get to school, I'd figure it out. And that is at no fault of my parents. When I was a young girl at 5, my mom passed away, and then my dad had a construction company who was very busy, successful, but there wasn't a lot of time, right? He wasn't home a lot with me. And I was the baby of a lot of kids, baby of 6 kids, eventually 2 stepkids later on. And you would think there'd be a lot of support, but my siblings were all older than me. There was one that was 3 years older, and then the rest of them were about anywhere from 6 to 15 years older than me. So they already had a life, right? They already were out in high school by the time all of this went down. They were in high school, they were in college, they were on their own. One was already married at 8 by the time I was 5 before my mom fully passed away. Um, my sister got married. So I I I had to really learn how to kind of raise myself at no one's fault, but there was no fault of my parents. Um, and from that point on, survival became the way of living. And if I stayed in control of what was going on in my situation and I fixed it, solved it, made it happen, then I was in survival mode and I was learning how to um live my life. And this created a fabulous life, guys. Fabulous life. Um, and I traveled the country. I worked in the restaurant industry for, gosh, 30 years in leadership management. And because of my freedom foundation of who I am, I've always been the kid that's a little different than the rest of my siblings. My siblings were the ones who were, um, they all got jobs and 2.5 kids, picket fence kind of thing. And I just never understood why I didn't do that and why I wasn't leaning that towards that direction. But I did know how to follow my intuition until there's parts that you're going to hear of my life where I didn't. And so, um, but that inner knowing when I was younger just knew that like, this isn't what I want. Like this isn't what the direction. So just follow where you're going. So because of that, I was able to always problem solve and figure out how to make the next thing happen. A great example is college. I was in towns where I was with friends who everybody had people paying for their college education and putting them right in. And we didn't have anything left. At the end of 6 kids, my parents literally were set me down and were like, yep, we got nothing. So you want a car? You got to figure it out. You want insurance on your car? Figure it out. You want to go to college? Figure it out. And I had become such an I got it girl at a young age that, like, don't worry, I got it. I can make the money. I can figure it out. I can get myself there. And I worked my butt off, found ways that with work study programs and um, every summer making lots of money to working my butt off to and every break to go to college. And I made it happen. And I'm so beyond proud of myself. And I bet a lot of you can relate to this situation, right? And there's no regrets, and it creates all of these ways of survival and control created who I am today. A very driven, successful, fiercely independent woman. Here's what I want to point out. that this podcast is really going to highlight with all the stories of myself and the women that I'm going to bring onto the podcast is there's a time when you start to realize that living your life from survival, control, and fear, which is what fear of, am I going to eat? Am I going to go to school? Am I going to have clothes? Am I going to, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. My family loved me a lot, guys. This is not like they were just busy and I couldn't be a burden. And that's a story I'll tell in another episode. Um, and so there's this point when you discover that survival, control, and fear is one way to live, but it keeps you held back from what is truly the joy, the love, trusting, and all of that you could have in your life. And I looked up one day, I started in this whole self-development world and went into my own business in 2019. And I'll tell you that in another episode. I don't want to make these too long for you. But I wanted to touch on how what I discovered is that once I learned how to let go of the control, then I started to live this life from this place of trust, um, inner knowing, surrendering, and allowing myself to receive help from others, allowing love to come in, allowing myself to love others. And it sounds strange, right? Because you think, of course I love others. I've had great relationships. I've got good friends, and stuff like that. But I had this tendency, and tell me if you relate, that I would I would find people, date people just distance enough where they couldn't get fully close, fully into my realm of me loving them and them loving me. And honestly, that didn't happen until my current marriage that I'm in now. We've been together 10 years. As you're hearing this, we've been together almost 10 and a half years. And it wasn't until gosh, 2 years ago, so year 7.5, 8, that we finally allowed each other to love each other fully. And that was because of the work I did on myself. And then in turn, he did work on himself as well. And I didn't feel safe because you grow up with grandparents all passing away, mom passing away, dad being so busy. You're like, okay, if I love too much, they're going to leave anyway. So there's a lot of abandonment issues, right? Again, nobody's fault. And it happens. And so I didn't feel safe allowing people to come into my life in a loving, caring, supportive way. The other piece of this is that, excuse me, financially, my entire life, I've been in charge of it. So how does that feel when you get into a relationship and you will not allow your partner to support you, to have any masculine role in the relationship? I was in charge. I was in control. And man, that does not bring two people close together, let me tell you. So this is just a touch of some of the stories you're going to hear about my personal life and how I've shifted from a woman who definitely lived a fiercely independent, I got it, girl. I do the snap, snap, snap. I got it. I'll open the door myself. And um, don't open the door for me, even though I have 3 suitcases hanging on my head and all that jazz. And, you know, I shifted about a couple years ago to this place that, wow, wait, I can get support. I can allow people in. I can love fully and people can love me fully. I have to, and you're going to hear another episode about 2024 and how I had to surrender. And it truly taught me what it was like to be supported by another, to live a life that feels so fulfilling from a thriving place instead of surviving place. And it's allows the love and the joy and just trust to pour in. And I don't know about you, but it took me years to really understand the concept of a higher power. I think we had one when we were younger. We went to church and we did the thing. But then it kind of faded from my life, and I thought really that I was doing this journey alone. Like I had nothing supporting me. But what I know now is that I've always had a higher power, and whether you believe in God, universe, angels, whatever your thing is, we all have some power and energy that is supporting us in this journey. And when I finally grasped that concept and allowed that to support me and allowed myself to recognize that, then what started shifting was that I started allowing people to do the same. I started allowing myself to open up and be more vulnerable. I started allowing myself to receive more, which is a huge one. So all of these things are going to be highlighted in stories from other women who are going to be sharing their I Got It Girl stories and how they let go of the control, survival, and fear and stepped into a place of thriving, surrendering, trusting, loving, and joy, and so much more fun. Let's just be honest. So, this is Coach Jackie. And if you like what you hear with these episodes, share with a friend, click follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, so that we can get this message out there and help women really, really, really step into this next stage of life where they get to feel fulfilled, purpose driven. And you don't have to sacrifice. Let me just say, you don't have to sacrifice the success and the money you've created and the life you've created. You're just enhancing it with things that you didn't realize you were being held back from because of this survival way of being. And survival can create pretty damn good life. I know, because I had it. And now I've got this thriving, fulfilled, loving self and others lifestyle that I call the freedom life. And my mission as the freedom mentor is to help everybody have the freedom life they truly desire and deserve and live like no other today. Let's not wait till retirement to live. Let's live a life of retirement, make money doing it, doing what we love, and having a damn good time. So, Coach Jackie, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.